So you just got your PSVR 2 and you're kind of wondering, hey, what game should I be playing on this? Or what game should I buy in the small selection of launch games that we have right now? Well, here are my top 5 games that you should definitely buy for your PSVR 2, at least until we get a couple more games coming out for the system. At number 5, we have Horizon Call of the Mountain. This is basically the flagship game for the PSVR 2. It is coming from Firesprite, the new studio at Sony and PlayStation. And in this game, you do take on the role of Rias, a separate character who is a Shadow Carja, but there are some cool elements from the main game that you will see in this one. I think the biggest appeal with this game is just how it looks. This is a game that you show to people to kind of show them what the PSVR 2 and the PlayStation 5 can do. There are lots of moments in this game where you just want to sit and just take it all in. At the same time, the gameplay is actually quite fun. Your main mode of attacking is using a bow and arrow, of course, and they do let you take your own approach when it comes to fighting these machines. When it comes to the type of arrows you want to use, you have to craft them as well. There's a lot of strategy that can go into it, and of course you gotta dodge at the right time. It is an overall fun game when it comes to any bow and arrow-ish type of a game. With that, there is also a lot of climbing, so be prepared to actually be giving your arms a huge workout. This game had me sweating at the end of it a number of times, and that's quite good. That's pretty fun that it does kind of give you that feeling that, hey, you are actually climbing this mountain. And when you make it to the top, there is a moment you just gotta take to yourself to say, wow, I actually did that. There are a number of glitches. At least I noticed a lot of tracking issues when it comes to this game. So I'll randomly see my person or my arms jump around here and there. At the same time, this did impact the bow and arrow aiming at points. But if everything is working as expected, it is an overall fun game with a very intriguing story. And of course, a game that just looks so impressive. The next game you should definitely check out is Kayak VR. This game took me by surprise because from the outset, it just looks like you're on a kayak just kind of going about your day on water, and that's about it. There was something intriguing about it, and I said, you know what, let me give this a go. After spending 4 to 5 hours in this game is something of a therapeutic, meditative, but enjoyable kind of an experience. First, when it comes to the physics itself of you actually paddling on your kayak, it is quite impressive. I've never been on a kayak, but I've been on boats. So just kind of having that motion in this and being able to kind of replicate it so perfectly was really, really good. You're able to kind of take your time in this pool setting to kind of practice, learn all the stuff that you need to, make sure you're kind of have a good grasp on how to move left, how to move right. But when you're ready to kind of jump in and actually go into the wild of sorts, you're able to kind of do that right after you're done with the tutorial. You have a number of spots to choose from, like Antarctica, Australia, Costa Rica, but with each of these spots you can choose the time of day, the type of weather, if you want to do a race, if you want to just kind of free roam where you don't do nothing, or if you just want to actually just travel that area without any time limits and just kind of go about what you want to do. Similar to Horizon, you do have to kind of paddle like you would expect to paddle a real boat, so it does get quite tiring. But with this game, when you're kind of paddling and you're just kind of moving around in this water, there is this kind of very serene moment where you just kind of look at the landscape and just kind of be awed by it. Couple that with this amazing soundtrack, it is truly, I never felt like this in a VR game before. I was more than happy to just kind of sit there and look around at everything because everything is so detailed. I also am sort of scared of the ocean and the water. You know, Jaws scarred me that way, and just kind of being in this did give me that feeling. So it is quite realistic in that way, or at least feels quite realistic, because you can look down at the water and just see either a fish or rocks and stuff like that. And it does kind of give you that impression that, wow, I can tip over and go into the water. But obviously when you kind of get a hold of that and just kind of paddling and going around this area, it is such an enjoyable experience. It's something that I feel that if you have a PSVR 2 or any VR headset, you definitely owe it to yourself to check this game out. Once I can convince more of my friends to play this game with me, you're actually able to kind of compete almost race style in these areas where basically based on your time, you'll see other people's ghosts and you can compete with them when it comes to doing a specific track in this area. So you can literally practice, you know, your paddling skills, or like you said, most of the time, at least for me, I'm just kind of free roaming and just enjoying my time in this game. The next game you should check out is Tentacular. This game is again something that when you look from the outside, it doesn't look as impressive. It looks very low polygonal, doesn't look as detailed as other games. But when you're actually playing it, it really kind of grabs you with this comedy, with the fun style and gameplay that's presented to you, and just the characters in this game. Going back, you are a giant squid in this game, and you are basically in this area where all these humans have befriended you, and you're basically helping them in some way. The gameplay requires you to control your 2 tentacles, which is controlled by your arms, and the gameplay is basically you kind of doing very menial tasks or boring tasks that you would think in real life, but obviously in the game it's made a lot more fun with you using your tentacles and just the kind of the comedy around it. This is added with the really fun, awesome soundtrack, and of course the comedy with the people and the way they talk to you and the lines, the dialogue. It's just such a fun game, and each section or each area you're doing something new, something different, so you never feel like you're doing the same thing. You might be stacking a couple of boxes and then you're doing a slingshot thing with these power lines in the next one. Tentacular is one of those games that, you know, you might use Horizon to kind of show what the PS5 can do, but Tentacular is a game that you kind of show to people so they can start having a laugh and having a fun time, and it's probably the game that people will remember the most once they're out of the headset. So at number 2 on my list is Pavlov VR. Now this game has been out for a while on other systems, but it was something that I never really tried out. I never tried it on my Oculus or anything like that, but I wanted to give it a go, especially since I do have a PSVR 2. I was like, you know what, let me check this out. I want more games on my PlayStation and on my PSVR 2. I'm extremely glad that I made that decision because this game is basically Counter-Strike in VR. The gameplay is extremely brutal and violent, but the fun thing is that you are able to kind of actually utilize weapons that in a way that you would imagine you could do in real life. So what this means is when you want to reload, you have to remove the ammo from the gun, put a new ammo in there, lock it up, and then, you know, you can go about your business and shooting things. Similarly, if you want to throw a grenade, you kind of take it off your chest, cook it, and then throw it over to the person. And when it comes to talking to your teammates, you have to put your right hand or your left hand over on your ear and you can talk to your teammates if you're playing online. That all sounds fun, but the thing that really grabbed me with this one is how accurate the aim is. So when you're aiming down the sights using your hands and using your arms, you are actually able to kind of aim perfectly as you would expect it to. You're not shaking all over the place. Even when it comes to the tracking works really well on this game, which surprised me. And it just made it such a fun experience because I felt like I was so involved with this game. I was looking on the corners, I was taking my time, and I was going up any staircase or around any door, any corner like that. It was just so fun because you felt like you were actually playing Counter-Strike or Call of Duty, but now you're actually down there in front of all these people. There's an awesome tutorial that you can do to get an idea of how to play this game and also how each of the weapons work. But then you can also go offline and just play against a bunch of bots. That's kind of what I've been doing mainly, just to kind of get ready before I jump online. But when you do go online, it's a really fun experience. The people that I've played with so far, it's been fun. People were super nice. There were no issues and we had a really great time. And I've already convinced a number of my friends to also get this game so we can all play. Halo VR has to be one of the best VR experiences that I've actually had ever. If you're someone that likes Call of Duty or Counter-Strike or any FPS, you definitely need to try this game out if you have a PSVR 2. This will give you all the highs and lows of those games. At the same time, it just gives you a very different kind of approach when it comes to those kinds of games. Almost like a different appreciation when you're actually put our virtual reality on the ground in that area. And of course, when it comes to number 1, my favorite PSVR 2 game right now is Gran Turismo 7. Sitting in the cockpit of a car, especially a car that probably costs $100,000 if not more, is an experience that I think a lot of us would want. A lot of us might be able to do that, but in this game, you're able to do that tenfold with so many different cars. Putting that aside, when it comes to these cars and the feel of how these cars play, and even when it comes to being in the cockpit and actually kind of driving around, it changes from each of them. You can tell that work has been gone to make sure that your PSVR, your VR experience is different from each car, as it should be. I've mainly played using my wheel, so that added an extra element of reality to it in a sense. But even if you play it with a controller, you honestly will get such an amazing experience. When I'm racing, it's so thrilling to see someone next to me or someone on my left or right or in front of me, and you're able to kind of judge the distance between the person in front of you and yourself, so you know when to brake, you know when to turn, you know when to try to overtake them. It gives you this extra added layer of understanding of the track, and you just, again, like I said, it's more about appreciation. You just appreciate what drivers do, especially if you're a big fan of racing outside of gaming. I used to play Gran Turismo 7 quite a bit when it initially came out, but then stopped and would play other racing games here and there. PSVR 2 has kind of brought me back in. I actually play PSVR 2 and Gran Turismo 7 on a daily basis. I always jump in to do a couple of races. It usually starts with me doing one race and then a time trial and then another race and just kind of so on and so forth. And that just kind of shows you how impressive this game is. This game also made me feel a bit more confident to go online and play against other people. For so long, I would go online, but I would play just maybe once a month or here and there because I just never felt that confident. I just didn't like it as well. Even though I was playing with my wheel, I just never felt like I wanted to kind of keep playing that type of mode. But with PSVR 2, I always want to play online. I just want to play with other people. Even if other people are just banging into other cars and don't care and are playing this like it's a Need for Speed game, I still just want to be in there because you enjoy and you appreciate being in a car so much more. And every little thing, even if I come last or second last or third last or whatever it may be, you being in the VR headset just makes it feel like a more realistic accomplishment of sorts. If you're someone that's even remotely a racing fan or enjoy even games like Need for Speed or more of those arcadey games, you still will enjoy this game quite a bit. I'm telling you, when you're in VR, everything kind of goes away. You might feel like this might be a tough game, or if this is focused more on the sim side, it might be tough that way. But honestly, in VR, like I said, you understand and appreciate everything about your car, the brakes, the throttling up and down, or the gear system, that you just automatically get an understanding of when to turn, when to slow down, when to make an overtake. It just gives you that appreciation. And when you start playing it like that, I'm telling you, you will get to a point where you do understand why Gran Turismo 7 has such a huge fan base and why this racing game is just so fun. So that's my list of top 5 PSVR 2 games that you need to get for your PSVR 2 right now at the launch date. Let me know what your favorite games are in the comments down below. Thanks so much for joining, everyone. It really means a lot. You know what to do. I'll see you next time. Bye.